What you think about that? I started putting out the right-hand head, so that way everything is all set and ready. Just have to do the combustion chambers next. That's about it. But all the exhaust ports already done, all the intake ports already done. We have our cylinder head back here along with some flow numbers. Let's see what we got. So we were tested with lifts from 0.1 all the way up to 0.55 inch lift. This left column here is the faux port with chamber work. This middle has faux port but no chamber work. And obviously the right is stock. So the stock cam, from what I researched, lifts up to 0.429 inches. So it's kind of long here. And so I think that might be the same for the exhaust. So our peak flow numbers at 0.5 inch lift was 264, faux port 253 with no chamber work, and 233 with stock. But since the stock cam doesn't lift that high, I won't be able to take advantage of that CFM. It's like 30 CFM increase. So online I've seen where these heads flow 300 CFM. So I asked the machine shop to see if any clay was applied to the intake ports to kind of give it a radius. They said they did not put any there because when they did, the clay was getting sucked in. So you could get more CFM out of it if there wasn't a sharp edge and you had a radius going into the ports. And of course the injector hose were not plugged in, so it is what it is. The same with the exhaust. There was no pipe put on it to extend the port, so the flow numbers are as they are. However, what's important is we got to see some increase in numbers, so there's an improvement. Now, as far as low lift, at 0.1 inch lift, it seemed to have dropped some CFMs compared to stock. Now I do wonder if that's due to the sleeve shifting, because the machine shop does not have the adapter that fits the Tundra bore. So I had to go buy a sleeve off Amazon that is the same inner diameter as the bore. And then what they did was just put some more packaging tape on it to slide it inside their adapters, because they do LS V8 engines. Those are 4-inch plus bores. So this just kind of slid right inside. So that way we can get the correct CFM numbers for the cylinder head. Because obviously if you put a bigger bore on it to try to flow, it kind of skews the numbers, because now you have a big old lip overhang sitting on the edge, so that doesn't count. So then I do wonder, but I mean, heck, all I did on intake was just clean up that little edge there, and that was it compared to the full port. And so we saw a decrease in flow numbers from stock. So who knows? I don't know. That's about a 15 CFM drop, which, I mean, a 0.1 inch lift is 0.2, it's like 2.5 millimeters of lift, you know, so that's very small. I mean, once the lift started to increase up, numbers started to catch up at 0.2 inch lift all the way up to full lift at 0.429, which is stock. We see an increase of almost 20 CFM, 15-ish CFM on the intake, full port versus stock. And then of course just the port itself already sees about 10 CFM increase. And so, which is interesting, because all it is just a, like say, pocket port, if you want to call it that. The exhaust, it's interesting that the just a little bit of porting there, it lost about 10 CFM on the start at 0.1 inch lift, and almost to, yeah, about to 0.2 inches it dropped some, and then once it got to high lift, yeah, it started to ramp up past factory. And then of course the fully ported heads, 170-ish compared to 157 to almost 160 stock if it was at full lift on factory. And it's about 10 CFM increase from a full port to the stock exhaust. However, it looks like it gained quite a bit once it got up to 0.2 inch and beyond. It ramped up pretty nice. But these numbers, they could be higher if there was a pipe fitted to the exhaust port during flow tests. And then same with the intake if there was a clay radius right on the ports, because that makes a big difference. So, but we do have some increase in numbers with the little work that we did, you know, because all the intakes were just a blend, and then the exhaust, of course, is the short turn that was worked on, along with the splitter on the high flow side. So this was the port that was flowed, full port with chamber work. Because if we just compare, this is the difference. No chamber work versus chamber work on the exhaust. And the extra little bit helps with airflow, bumps it up a little bit. And I'm surprised the intake, it helped a little bit too. I'm surprised by that. A little bit of airflow, just right out those edges. Those edges right there. The extra little bit makes a difference. So that's all we got from machine shop. So now it's time to finish up these two and this one, as well as all of the other chambers from the other side of the head. We gotta drop these corners down so that way it matches up with the fully finished one. And then we will be in business here now. So not bad for a little bit of chamber work and some pocket porting. That's what they call it. Not bad. So I'll finish up these heads and get some update pictures for you guys, and we will go from there.